Welcome to the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from inside Louisville, Kentucky today, and in Maryland, the land of pleasant living. John Webster, how you doing there, John? I hope it's warm there like it is here.
Doing okay, Gary. Doing all right. It is a warm day today here in Maryland. Hope everybody's doing well. John Pitt, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. My garden is loving this heat, and I know you are.
I just need to be a few more degrees closer to 100, man. Just a few more degrees
Uh,
closer.
Yep.
there's something wrong with you, John. Me, I'm just trying to get rid of cicadas in my front yard in my tree so I can go outside and enjoy the heat for a change.
Good luck on trying to get rid of them, buddy.
Yeah, I gotta wait probably about another 3 or 4 weeks before I can enjoy the outside and, like you, enjoy the heat. And John, speaking of heat, man, in New York, the heat is on the Knicks to find a new coach. I mean, we're supposed to be talking about the NBA Finals, and here we are. We're talking about a team that got knocked out of the Eastern Conference Finals. The New York Knicks firing Tom Thibodeau today, which I think a move that basically stuns everybody. And my take on it is, it sounds like typical Knicks that they can't get out of their own way. We talked about that before we started taping. Like why? You're just a few days after losing in 6 games to the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's the best that you've done in, I guess, really almost a quarter century in getting that far, which tells you how bad the team is. They fire a coach after 5 years who got them to the playoffs 4 times, and they traded a ton of picks to build this team, and now they fire the coach. And I don't right now. I mean, I'm mystified, John, as to who is out there to take over this team, and do you upset the so-called apple cart at this point to try to get to that next level? Again, I got no answers, so maybe you do.
Well, I sound like a broken record. Unfortunate somebody loses their job. Thibodeau, crazy situation there. Yeah, it's just crazy. It has the thing I'm thinking has nothing. The two things I'm thinking have nothing to do with one another, but in the way they do. And I'll just say this. Not even asking for a comment back. I'm sitting here looking at Thibodeau get fired, and I'm looking at this like some WWE mess, like when they just let R-Truth go from WWE. So totally unnecessary, totally not needed. You already hear some names out there. You hear Taylor Jenkins, you hear Sam Cassell, you hear Frank Vogel, you hear Steve Nash, and I can't even think of who else. But those are some of the names that you hear already. None of them really set me on fire. The only one that interests me would be Sam Cassell. Frank Vogel. You see, I look at Frank Vogel. Oh, and Mike Malone. Mike Malone, Frank Vogel. It's just like when Frank Vogel, I think his best coaching job that he did was with Indiana, even though he won the championship with the Lakers.
Hmm.
I don't see him as well, let me say this. I think he's a good coach, but I don't see him as a big market coach. Same with Malone. Malone did a great job with Denver. I don't see him going to New York. That's it's just a different world in New York. Taylor Jenkins definitely doesn't interest me. Steve Nash does not interest me. Sam Cassell, a fresh start, and somebody that could probably relate and be able to get, you're going to have to find somebody that gets along with Brunson and gets along with Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not saying that they didn't get along with Thibodeau, but I just don't. I don't know what they expect. This is the farthest a New York team has been in 25 years. They haven't won a championship since 1971.
No,
Um,
73.
73. Okay. Doesn't make it much better, Gary.
Yeah, yeah. But your
That's
point is well taken. And the only reason why I remember 73 was because I was hoping that the Lakers would go back to back and they beat the Lakers for the second time in 4 years.
yeah, yeah. I just don't. I don't know. Those are some of the names I hear, but New York's a different kind of animal, man. It's more than being a coach; it's being in that community. Now that Thibodeau makes some faux pas, shall we say? Sure. What coach has not? One of Thibodeau's biggest faux pas, shall we say, is he doesn't believe in playing his bench. So he started playing his bench late in the playoffs. And some probably believe if he had played it sooner, it would have saved them. It's like I said before, Gary, when you asked me, this is a knee jerk reaction, in my opinion, because you lost to Indiana. Indiana is built to win championships. The Knicks were built to beat Boston. I can't be any more clear than that. Um, Red Holzman ain't walking through that door. Walt Frazier ain't walking through that door. Willis Reed ain't walking through that door. They have who they have. You got what's his name, Bridges, Malik, Mikal Bridges, and then you have Josh Hart, and you got Brunson, and then you have Carl Anthony Towns. And Towns played hard, um, but
Uh,
he's not.
That's debatable, but go ahead.
He's not. I'll say this, I'll take out. I'm taking myself out of the equation. Is he the kind of aircraft carrier I want on my team? I'm taking myself out of that. I will say he tried. It's just not what I would want. So you fired the coach. Good luck with good luck with whatever you're going to find next. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Here's, looking at the way they went out in game six, they come into halftime, they're within two possessions. They're playing well, they're making Indiana kind of play their game, and then that spurt at the beginning of the third quarter, where they committed turnovers, they I mean, they committed a lot of unforced errors in that one. Yes, Indiana's pace, I think, had a little something to do with it, but then there were just some inexplicable turnovers. And when it got to double digits, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is when you call timeout, maybe kind of settle the team down because they really seemed unfocused. And that's a coach's job. He didn't do that. It got to be 15 points, and of course, once it got to 20, late in the third, entering the fourth, that you knew it was a wrap by then. And I think I forgot what I had turned the TV off to watch at that point. But my thing is, yeah, that's a coaching thing. I don't know if you necessarily blame Thibodeau for in-game decisions on that one for his firing, but there was a point where Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns just seemed dialed out. You know, Burned out, I don't know, but Karl Anthony Towns, there was one sequence I remember he was shooting free throws and he literally just threw the ball up there. In my opinion, it was like there was no focus. He just kind of threw it up, like body language. John, we talk about that, especially in basketball being everything. his body language suggested a guy that I don't know if he had hit an emotional wall or a mental wall or something, but um, he just seemed elsewhere. His mind just seemed elsewhere. Uh, Jalen Brunson seemed like a guy who was really trying too hard, maybe to try to light a fire under the team that really had just kind of run out of gas. And again, I think that that goes back to what you said about Thibodeau not playing his starters, excuse me, not resting his starters, not using his bench, and kind of being something of a hard driving coach. I didn't see that as a bad thing with the Knicks, especially given the kind of team that they were before he came to town. And again, we talk about the big trade that sent Julius Randle to Minnesota, and then and that brought Karl Anthony Towns to New York, and you saw how it helped both teams, but the Knicks, of course, went to the conference finals. And I really, again, you were right. The Indiana was built to win a championship. The Knicks were built to beat Boston, and they they checked out at the wrong time, such as game one. And that was one of those that I think they had to spend the rest of the series trying to get back into it mentally, if not, competitively. And maybe Knicks management looked at that as a whole and just said, okay, this was one we could have gotten to that next stop, but that next step, but a coaching decision or a series of coaching decisions played into it. But John, when a coach is fired after a successful season, you wonder how much of that is management. Just, they talk about wanting a new voice. That was the statement from the Knicks. But you wonder how much of that is just a clash of personalities. And we see that a lot. I think we saw that in Denver with them, firing their coach late in the season. Yes, they got to the conference. They got to the conference semifinals, with an interim coach, but that just seemed like a panic move to make, especially 2 years after you win a championship, and that was a head scratcher. Now we have another one, and what does that do for the Eastern Conference? Because I don't know if you have that kind of if you when you get that kind of momentum, how do you carry it over to the next season? How do you adapt to the new guy? It's going to be really, really interesting, intriguing in New York to see how they bounce back from this and with who.
You said a mouthful, Gary. Let's go ahead and talk about the NBA Finals,
Yeah,
man.
let's talk about something uplifting.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about the Knicks, man. I really don't. The Three Stooges never stopped being the Three Stooges. But go ahead. I digress.
Anyway, well, John, the other question about the NBA Finals, I think, you've got two teams. It's a great matchup in terms of two teams that haven't won a championship. Indiana is a team, my feeling is that you like Indiana in this series because you like them against the Knicks and you like their style. And I really get that. They're playing their best basketball after being a team that looked like, dead and stinking in January at, I think it was what, 10 and 15 or something like that. Um, I think that, the traditionalists in me would root for the Indiana Pacers because we remember when they were an ABA power, the ABA power with George McGinnis and Roger Brown. I'm trying to think
Mel
of the
Daniels.
Mel Daniels, guys like that. And
Slick Leonard was coaching.
that's right, Slick Leonard. Yeah. Um, and I mean, they're like a throwback team. OKC seems more like an expansion team, even though they began as the Seattle Supersonics and and moved to Oklahoma City. But I like Oklahoma City in this because not just because they've been the best team, but because the best player has shown himself to be the best player. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander has shown himself to be the best player when they've needed him, and he's gotten help. It's not necessarily a big three with Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams, but it's the a big three in terms of helping out and contributing and making it less of a one-man show. When you think of Indiana, I think of two players. I think of Tyrese Halliburton and Pascal Siakam. And right now, I want to say this is more about Pascal Siakam than Tyrese Halliburton. It surprised people that he was named the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. You could have chosen either one, but he's the guy that I think kind of makes that team go on both ends of the floor, and that's who they're going to have to really rely on, as opposed to Tyrese Halliburton, who is, I mean, he's a great player, but he's prone to dropping off the table at some points in the game, whether it's shooting or just being taken out of his game, and that's why I like Oklahoma City. They seem to have that finishing instinct, and that's what against and they're a young team. They have energy just like Indiana, but being a little bit younger and knowing how to win those games now. That's what I kind of picked them in 6 games. Not well, I picked them, but I'm picking them in 6 games. No kinda to it.
Well, it's going to be an interesting series. I think both teams, as I've said before, mirror each other. They play both of them play a suffocating defense. OKC's is the number one defense in the NBA this year. You know, OKC's a unbelievable talent with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren. They're unbelievable. The way that Gilgeous-Alexander is able to get his shot no matter what, work his way to the foul line. He's very strong inside the elbow, also has a consistent three-point shot. Remember, I mentioned last week him and Anthony Edwards, which makes them very good, in my opinion. Both of them have a very good perimeter game, but also they can shoot the three, but they don't depend on shooting the three all the time. I think that makes a more complete player if you don't shoot it all the time. Plus, they're good at driving to the basket. Gilgeous-Alexander has a very good complement of players. You got Hartenstein, you got Lou Dort coming off the bench. That kid, his name is Wallace, coming off the bench as well. They're tough. They're hard. They're gonna be hard to beat. And the playing in that atmosphere at OKC, that's like a college atmosphere, man. They get fired up. I love to see the games there. It's really, really a lot of fun. You look on the other side of the court and you see Indiana. Unbelievable team. Just like Oklahoma City, they can go 9 or 10 deep. Just like Oklahoma City, they can play good defense. Just like Oklahoma City, they can find various ways to score the ball. I think Indiana is a team that is able to put pressure on you from an offensive standpoint. I've seen teams put pressure on you playing defense. They put pressure on you playing offense. They really, really are tough. I like Miles Turner. I like, of course, Halliburton. But you work yourself around and you see Naismith and you see Nembhard. And then you see McConnell coming off the bench with Matherin. They are a very tough team, and they're not dependent on one person to score. Again, OKC, yes, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is the most valuable player, but there are other players that can get it done. And if Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is having some troubles, the other people can make it happen. They're tough. I don't see anybody this year beating OKC. OKC is flat out the best team in the NBA, Gary. I don't see anybody stopping this locomotive called the Thunder. They're unbelievable. They are primed to be an NBA champ. They are unbelievable, my friend. Absolutely unbelievable. But Indiana will stop this. They will have to be a champ another day. Indiana Pacers in 7.
Right? You didn't let me down on that one. Now, here's the big question. You pick Indiana, I pick OKC. Will anybody be there to watch it? And I'm going to say yes if it goes 7 games, no if it goes less than 6.
Well, I don't think we have much to worry about because this series is going to go long. A lot of people are writing off Indiana and they're saying that they can't play with OKC. I I respectfully disagree with people. I think this is going to be a very exciting series. The problem that some people have, not the problem, phrase my statement. The concern that people have is this is two small market teams playing. And for me, that jerk side of me, that want to be a jerk side, I'm thrilled because it's really hurting the NBA because they really wanted New York in there. They
Mhm.
wanted a big market team. That jerk side of me is happy, but that's not right. I'm happy because these are the two best teams, not because the NBA wanted New York. These are absolutely the two best teams left. And as I'm watching it, I can only speak for myself. I'm watching it and enjoying it because these are the two best teams. And I'm watching a flow of basketball that is a flow of basketball. I am simply enjoying it. You're going to have a lot of people who are having concerns because these are two small market teams. Well, if you don't want the small market teams to win, get them out the NBA, get them out the NFL. Move on and just put your teams in Chicago, DC, New York, and LA
Yeah.
if that's what you want. You know, hey, this is the beauty. This is the beauty for me of sports. Doesn't matter where you're from or where you're going to go. It comes down to what you can do. These are two very good teams that can do their due. I just think Indiana's going to be able to do a little bit more.
Yep. And to that, John, I'll just say it's about growing the game, and growing the game means growing the game in markets in places where you normally wouldn't expect it, such as Oklahoma City and Indiana, which really has a deep basketball
Mm-hmm.
background, going not just with the Pacers, but of course we know with college and such, and it's a basketball crazy state. I live in a basketball crazy state and I'm an hour and a half from Indiana, and I love it from that standpoint. Um, the thing again with Oklahoma City that you got new eyeballs, and maybe again the longer that this series goes, that it will draw eyeballs that normally would tune out because the big market teams wouldn't there. So I look at it as hopefully a good thing for the league.
Yeah, and I'll say two other things. One, where you are in Kentucky, I personally have a place in my heart for Kentucky because they should have been in the NBA. The Kentucky Colonel should have been there. I'm not asking to go into that. That's a long story on a short day, but that's my personal opinion. And then also, I'll say from this competition between the Thunder and the Pacers, I also give a little bit of an edge to the coach on the Pacers, who
Mhm.
is one and only Rick Carlisle. The last time Rick Carlisle was in a championship, there was Dallas Mavericks against a high-flying team called the Miami Heat. And Rick Carlisle said the Miami Heat have a strong air game, but the Dallas Mavericks are stronger with a ground attack. Dallas won in 6. Indiana wins in 7.
Okay.
Gary, go ahead and take us home, man.
All right. Well, quickly, we've got the Belmont Stakes coming up this weekend. Journalism is the 8-5 favorite with Kentucky Derby winner Sovereign 2-1 second choice. I like journalism in this one the same way I liked him in the Preakness, where he redeemed himself. But I feel like this race is going to be intriguing because they go against each other on a faster, drier track than what they had in Kentucky. And I like journalism because that the horse is a very good sprinter, and he's got a jockey that knows how to keep pace. The Derby was not his kind of race, of course, in the mud, because a lot of horses don't. But he still finished second, just by a length and a half. And I feel like on a fast track and even footing, a smaller field, it could be a two-horse race. But I like journalism. We have the French Open. We don't have any American men going to the final. They both got knocked out in the quarters before we went to air. But we still have Coco Golf, so there's that to look forward to. Let's see, what else we have to look forward to? College World Series. Softball is going to have a new champion with Oklahoma being knocked out. Baseball, we're in the regional finals, and that's compelling. The top two seeds have been knocked out, so it's a wide open competition. So, John, there's a whole lot to watch at every level. There's probably some football, some soccer to watch somewhere, maybe on this continent. We won't talk about other continents because this is an American show. So, folks, watch us, watch sports. John, take us home.
Hey, everybody, make sure you watch, as Gary said, watch a little football, watch a little soccer, watch the NBA playoffs, watch the WNBA as well. Watch some hockey. Watch the college
Yeah, we can
softball World
extend it.
Series, college baseball World Series. Both of them are exciting. I've been watching both of them. But as I say, above all else, just watch some sports and come back and see us real soon. Take care.